I do want to keep this channel positive, and flying is awesome, but there are some days, whatever you do, and especially with aviation, when things just suck. I'm about to take Echo Yankee Zulu on a quick day trip to Sydney today on an average kind of weather day. So I thought what I'd do is share with you the things that I think are the worst things about being a private pilot.
Cleared Bankstown via Harrow Plan Route, climb to 8,000.
Cleared Bankstown via Harrow Plan Route 8,000, Echo Yankee Zulu. Won't need my pen again for a while. My Apple Pencil's run out of batteries, that's why I'm using the pen.
Echo Yankee Zulu.
Clear for takeoff, Echo Yankee Zulu. Alright, that's what happens when you accidentally hit the autopilot with your hand when you're trying to do something else. Alright. Idiot! The first thing then that most pilots hate, anyone who says that they don't hate this as a pilot is lying. And that's turbulence. You're going to fly for a while, you're going to have those days where there is turbulence. Even today, I mean this is very light, but you can see the aircraft is moving around. I have heard from people in the past who've written to me on the channel who said, how do you deal with turbulence? How do you get used to turbulence? The only advice that I could give is, you just got to keep flying through it. That's the only way to ever get used to turbulence in an aircraft, is just to experience it more. Now, it can really suck, don't get me wrong, when you're first starting out, it can be scary as well. And to be honest, I've had flights in the last year or so where they've been particularly turbulent, and you do feel that kind of, almost a sense of anxiety in the cockpit, because you just, especially if it goes on for hours and hours, you just feel so beaten up and you want to be done with it. But it can really suck, and it can be scary at times. If you ever feel scared on a plane in turbulence, even if you fly as a pilot or as a passenger, if you fly a lot, you feel scared in the plane, don't worry, that's not unusual. I remember a flight coming back from Darwin in December at the end of last year where I was in turbulence for about 4 or 5 hours, constantly over the desert, couldn't outclimb it, couldn't get through it. It just lasted all the way through from Darwin basically to Birdsville. And it's just so demoralising. You feel beat up at the end of it, you feel tired, you just want to get out of it. And if you hate it and you think you can't be a pilot because you don't like turbulence, well, it depends what level of flying you want to do, obviously, but if you're just going to be flying as a private pilot, don't go on those bad days. And if you do have those bad days and you're feeling like you don't like it, put the plane down on the ground and wait it out. There is nothing to be ashamed of to land because you're not feeling comfortable in the aircraft because of turbulence.
Echo Yankee Zulu, contact centre 128.4, good day, sir.
1284. See you, mate. Have a good day. Next up is the feeling of self-doubt in the cockpit. And what I mean by that is when you see everybody else around you doing better than you, everyone else is flying more than you, they've got more hours than you. Oh, all those people on YouTube, those idiots on YouTube that put videos up of their flying, they make it look so easy. First of all, YouTubers edit out the bad stuff sometimes. Don't worry, I've done it. I know other people who do it. We don't always portray the full story. So don't think that that is exactly what your flying experience is going to be like. But then doubting yourself because what you can see other people do, maybe your mates in the flying school or the instructors are telling you, you know, you should be at a different level, or your friends are just saying, oh, why haven't you passed your PPL yet? That kind of self-doubt has to go. You have to focus solely on your flying. Remember, there's no minimum number of hours that you should spend to get your private pilot's license. You shouldn't get your PPL in 40 hours if that's what people tell you. That's rubbish. It took me, I think, almost 70 hours to get my private pilot's license. And I had big gaps in my training. Remember the imposter syndrome. If you're feeling like this, you're probably suffering from it, which is where you're sometimes in the cockpit thinking, what am I doing up here? I shouldn't be here. I'm an imposter pilot. I have no right to be here in the cockpit. Well, if you ever think like that, just go back to your training. What have you been taught to do? What level of experience do you have? Are you comfortable being in the conditions you're in, and are you trained for the conditions you're in? Well, if it's yes to both of those, then continue to fly and stop worrying about what other people are thinking about you. Easy to say, I know, but self-doubt in the cockpit is really something that can, well, kind of ruin the flying experience for a lot of people, and I don't want you to go through it. Wow, this crosswind has picked up to 45 knots now, directly off the left wing. Next up is marginal weather. When you have those days where it's kind of like, oh, you know, maybe I could, should I go, shouldn't I go? Those days can be the worst when you're flying. It's easy when it's blue skies, you're going to go up, have a brilliant day. It's easy when it's chucking it down and there's a thunderstorm over the airport, stay on the ground, have a cup of tea. But those in-between days can really be frustrating because you're not sure if you should go up. And the worst thing that can happen though is when you're on the ground and you think you shouldn't go flying, and then the day clears up and it's actually a beautiful day, and you're sitting there thinking, oh, I should have gone. I could have gone flying today. What you need to remember in those situations is not that, oh, I could have gone, I should have gone. What you need to remember is you made a command decision. You, as the pilot in command, decided not to proceed with that flight, and that is your job. That's exactly what you have to do. So you made the right decision. Every time you make the decision to stay on the ground as a private pilot, you're making the right decision. It doesn't matter what the outcome could have been, it matters what the outcome is. But if you're on the ground and the rubbish is weather, if you're on the ground and the weather is rubbish, and then it clears up but you've decided to stay down on the ground, don't beat yourself up about it. Feel proud that you made a decision and stuck to it.
Echo Yankee Zulu, contact departures 118.4.
1184, Echo Yankee Zulu. Sydney departures, Echo Yankee Zulu, maintaining 9,000.
Echo Yankee Zulu, Sydney departures.
Then another thing that can suck and make you feel like it's bad to be a pilot is of course money, or the lack thereof. Sometimes when you're flying, when you're training, or even if you're just flying for fun, you know, there will be times when you think, well, I don't know whether I could justify the costs for this flight, and you then don't go ahead with the flight, and it can be really frustrating because you're on the ground, might be a beautiful blue sky day, and you think, well, I just wish I was up there flying. The thing is, again, you can't beat yourself up about that. Not having the money and not being able to afford to go flying happens to everyone. I had big gaps in my flying career. There was a year and a half where I did one flight, simply because, well, I wasn't paying myself at work because business wasn't going too well, and also I couldn't justify spending the money that I should be saving for things like rent and food on flying. A quick shameless plug, but I did make a video. If you are struggling with finances for flight training in terms of, you know, finding the money, ways to increase your income or decrease your expenses, check out that video as well. It might give you some tips and hopefully help you get over that hurdle. It never goes away. The money thing never goes away unless you're a billionaire, but it's how you approach it. It's how you approach the money problem. And then from a mental health point of view, then there's motivation, just the general motivation. Now you might have a perfect day, you might have the plane, you might have tons of money, everything's like looking great and it's the perfect day to go flying, but sometimes you'll find yourself sitting on the ground thinking, do you know what, I just don't have the motivation to go flying today. And that could be for a number of reasons. It could just be because you're feeling tired. It could be because your mind's not in the game. It could be because you're feeling scared of flying. Maybe you had a bad flight previously and you're sitting on the ground thinking, oh, do I want to put myself into that position again? Whatever your reasons for sitting on the ground, not really feeling comfortable about wanting to go ahead and fly, if you make the decision not to fly, that is the best decision you can make in that situation. Don't beat yourself up for making that decision. Talk to other people, talk to your flying instructor, or talk to fellow pilots, or just talk to your friends and family about how you're feeling. It's really important to share the feelings, and sometimes when you express them, you can help yourself verbalise your own thoughts and maybe come to terms with why you're having those thoughts. The other side of motivation sometimes is, well, what do I do with my flying? You may have flown from your home airport to the 10 airfields around you, like in the last year, 3 or 4 times. You've been to the same places. Sometimes you think, oh, it's just, what do I do with it? It's getting a bit boring. In those instances, all I can say is either stretch your legs, go a little bit further, look at maybe some overnight flights, see if you can go further than you have before, or bring someone along with you. Take someone who's never been flying to one of those airfields. Sharing it with a friend is a really good way to improve your motivation, because you're not then just flying to the same airport for yourself. You're showing someone the beauty of aviation and you're taking them along for the ride as well. And to see someone after a flight when they get off, it's the first time in a small plane. They're a little bit nervous to start with, but they get out and that smile on their face is all because of you. So try and help other people, help them enjoy aviation, and that in turn I think can really motivate you to find a purpose to get back in that plane and get out and fly some more.
Echo Yankee Zulu, runway right, clear to land.
Clear to land, runway right, Echo Yankee Zulu.
Downwind, shot, follow the tech name on line.
And here we are in Bankstown Airport in Sydney. Much warmer now than it was in Melbourne. It's about 30 degrees. It was only 15 when we left. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. If you have something that you want to share in terms of what you think is the worst thing about being a pilot, stuff that stresses you out, let everybody know in the comments below. When we share stories like this and what makes us a bit anxious and scared, it really helps to see the rest of the community experiencing the same things that we do. Give us a like if you enjoyed that video, and if you're not a member of the channel or you're not subscribed to the channel, do click on that subscribe button down below. It really helps me to see the channel grow. Otherwise, thanks for watching.